What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Golf on Tap. Today, we'll be getting into our final bets for the first leg of the FedEx Cup Playoffs, the 2024 St. Jude Championship at TPC Southwind. As always, just a quick reminder off the top, if you're joining us right now on X, make sure to jump on over to the YouTube feed so you can let us know who you're going to be tailing this week at TPC Southwind, your thoughts on what went down last week at the Wyndham Championship as Aaron Rai, the Ruben, emerges victorious. Joey Ricotta, back-to-back outright victories. He's going for 3 in a row on today's show, and I am also going for a three-peat at TPC Southwind, so very excited to dive into it here with you, Joey. Also, a reminder to everyone tuning in, you can find Golf on Tap for free wherever you may listen to your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, whatever it may be. Please make sure to go and check us out there. That way you can get all of the latest episodes if you're not able to tune in with us live. Joey, it feels like we got some good vibes going into this week with the St. Jude Championship. We were both a part of the Will Zalatoris 28-1 gang a couple of years ago when he finally broke through for his first PGA Tour win. I do remember both of us had been on Will Zalatoris multiple times up to that point, especially at major championships when he had been so close and ripped our hearts out. Finally came through in Memphis. I believe you were part of the Lucas Glover ride last year. We do this so often, quite honestly. It's hard to remember exactly if we were tailing on the same week for that one, but it's an event that I really like. It's a tough tee to green test, a lot of water lurking all over the course. We usually get a winner somewhere between 13 and 16 under. That's particularly how I like PGA Tour events if they're not major championships. So very excited to get into things, Joey. Excited to see who you're going to be tailing this week because you've been riding a little bit of a hot hand. And two guys I have really contemplated betting, Johnny Vegas at the 3M Open, Aaron Rai at the Wyndham Championship last week. Ultimately, what pushed me away from both of them was their putters. And funny enough, they both putted well on their way to victory, like we saw Will Zalatoris and Lucas Glover do here last year. And both of them historically aren't very good putters either. So a little bit of a weird trend there coming into this week, but congratulations on back-to-back winners. Always feels good, especially in a year where Scotty Scheffler has taken our money so many times. Definitely got to enjoy the victories, brother. So how you doing here on Wednesday? And what are your thoughts going into St. Jude this week?
Yeah, man, get rid of that boogeyman. Just get rid of him. I'm doing good. I actually was like dog tired before hopping on here, and as soon as you hit that button, and we're here, and we're talking golf, we're talking bets. I'm like, there's some more fuel in the tank, and I'm feeling good. I obviously it's been a good little run here for us. You've been incredible here at TPC Southwind. And I do think I had Glover last year along with you, but I could be wrong on that. I know we have had some joint victories here over the couple of years now that we've been doing this. So that's very possible, but it does feel like your stride starts to kick in when we hit the playoff time. So I'm excited to hear your thoughts about this course. I mean, just who you're on more so than just your thoughts on the course, because we know what it is. But it just feels to me like you have a really good read on this place. And, that's something I have to consider. I only have a few bets in the chamber right now, but there's room for possibly one more. I just counted it up and I do have 5 as we sit here pre-show, but yeah, man, I'm ready for it. I mean, there's 70 guys in the field. You're not going to like do too much information where you're over cramming, trying to get those last long shots. Like you might take a stab at 1 or 2, but that's about it. Like we know it's the purebreds this week for the most part, and we're odds shopping and just looking for guys that could succeed here. So could be a little bit more random than the next 2 weeks, I think, and that's what makes it fun. I do think it'll be like one of the big names the next 2 weeks that win, but we could see somebody a little bit down the board with some nice juicy odds that win this week. So like a Lucas Glover or somebody who's not here this year, which kind of sucks because it takes away the whole purpose of swamp ass in Memphis. But neither here nor there, Jack. I'm ready to get it, man. Let's go. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Yeah, Swamp Ass season has officially returned. Happy Swamp Ass season to everyone. I gave everyone who follows me on X a good reminder of what happened to Lucas Glover last year when he was sweating completely through his pants, but fought through it, still cashed an outright ticket, which I always appreciate Lucas Glover for doing. But yeah, Joey, this has been an event that I really liked, not only because I've cashed some solid tickets here the last couple of years, but it's made for a really intriguing finish. I really love the finishing stretch of holes here. 18 is like where do you hit it type of par four to finish, makes things really intriguing. There's a lot of water all over the back nine on this track. So yeah, it's led to some awesome finishes, and it has been a little bit of you've gotten some stars at the top, right? Will Zalatoris, when it felt like he was just blossoming and kind of budding into a little bit of a superstar there and ascending onto the big time scene. He was also in a playoff with Sepp Straka, who now is a little bit more established at this point in time, was part of that Ryder Cup team for Europe last year, but at that point had only had his one PGA Tour win, wound up making the playoff. And then last year, of course, Lucas Glover won in a playoff with Patrick Cantlay. So yeah, it's been a fun type of mix and match. Stoked to kind of dive through all of it. And yeah, the FedEx Cup playoffs, man, knock on wood, hoping it can continue to treat me better. It's been, even though I feel like my cards haven't been disappointing, I've had guys in the mix basically every week. It's been a little bit of a dry spell since hitting that Bryson DeChambeau at the U.S. Open, and then Davis Thompson at the John Deere a couple of weeks later, having 2 victories in 3 months there. So it's about that time that I break through and get another win. But yeah, man, just even thinking back, like when we first started doing the show, I remember I had Cantlay at the BMW when he pulled through against Bryson, and then ended up winning the Tour Championship. I also had Rory in the Tour Championship when he won along with Zalatoris at St. Jude, and then last year had Victor at the BMW Championship, Lucas Glover at TPC Southwind, and then Victor to win the Tour Championship. So swept through the FedEx Cup playoffs last year, and then have had 2 each of the 2 years before that. So yeah, been a nice little run here for me in the FedEx Cup playoffs, but definitely not taking that for granted, keeping grinding this week so I can hopefully keep that streak alive. But you want me to get into a quick little dive of what I've been looking at for TPC Southwind before I go and get into the odds board here in a second, just for anyone who's listening who's looking for a little bit more information as well?
Yeah, definitely. Let's do it. I think it's pretty straightforward for the most part because we've seen it over the last few years, but there are some intricacies to this that like the one thing that speaks to me is the narrow fairways. But yeah, Jack, what are your thoughts here about this course, or what are you attacking from a stat standpoint?
Yeah, definitely what stands out is just the precision-based requirements all around this course. You mentioned the narrow fairways. They're only 29 yards wide on average. Some of the tightest fairways on the PGA Tour, very comparable to what we saw last week at Sedgefield. And, when you miss the fairway there, and just like it is here, you deal with 3-inch Bermuda rough that can give players fits and can get a little bit clunky there. And then also the green complexes are some of the smallest on the PGA Tour schedule as well. So fairways gained, greens gained are definitely what I'm looking at this week. Accuracy over distance. However, even though on the scorecard, you only see this listed at about 7,250 yards, it's only a par 70. So there is only 2 par 5s, and there's a lot of par 4s, and 8 of the 12 are over 445 yards. So a lot of them, you're going to be having approach shots from about 150 to 175 yards. 125 to 200 yards is the biggest proximity range at TPC Southwind. So those are kind of the particular buckets that I'm looking at this week. And just because players are going to be missing fairways and they're going to be missing greens, I'm definitely looking at scrambling around the green, bogey avoidance, because with the distance and just with the small greens and all that stuff, you're going to be missing from time to time. And really the name of the game is hitting the ball in the fairway, hitting these greens, staying away from the water hazards, taking advantage of the couple of par fives. Both of them are pretty short. There's a couple of short par fours, the ones that aren't long. Those are kind of the birdie opportunities that you really need to take advantage of, because outside of those, par's a pretty good score at TPC Southwind. Like I mentioned earlier, we've only seen a winning score eclipse 15 under 3 times in the last 14 years here. And another main reason for that, Joey, is because swamp ass season, brother. It is hotter than shit this time of year in Memphis. Temperature is supposed to be in the 90s all weekend long, and I've been kind of checking the radar the last day or so. It rained a lot today in Memphis, so that water's going to be soaking up with all that heat. It's going to be humid as shit. Swamp ass season is going to be in full force, so it's just really kind of a grind, man. It's a true tee to green test. You got to be avoiding bogeys, and usually a huge part in avoiding those bogeys is your putter's got to be good enough not only to take advantage of the birdie putts and capitalize on those opportunities, but you got to make a lot of big par savers. That's one thing that really stood out to me watching Lucas Glover throughout that final round last year. Like, he didn't have his best stuff ball striking like he did the week prior when he won the Wyndham, but he made like long putt after long putt. And outside of Justin Thomas, most winners at this course over the past 10 years have finished somewhere inside the top 20 in strokes gained putting for the week. So I'm looking at guys who typically putt well on Bermuda or have putted well on this course in the past and are just used to those firm and fast surfaces. And I also think it's worth pointing out that the Zoysia grass fairways featured here at TPC Southwind are a little bit of a rarity on the PGA Tour. You don't really see them very often. You get them at East Lake for the Tour Championship. We got them at Valhalla Country Club for the PGA Championship this year. The only other courses outside of that, Narashino Country Club for the Zozo, they're not very common in the United States. So that's a little trinket that I've kind of been looking at. I don't know how much weight you want to like necessarily put into that basket, but I do think it is a little bit of a nuance to consider. But all in all, like I said, it's just a grind. You got to take advantage of the short par fours, make your pars on the long ones, capitalize on the par fives, and just stay out of the water is really the main focus this week at TPC Southwind. It's almost like a little mini major championship, and I expect this course to play harder than Valhalla Golf Club did when it hosted the PGA Championship in the spring. It's a really nice course. I really enjoy it. Firm and fast is always how you make golf courses difficult nowadays, and that's what we're going to get this week in Memphis, Joey.
Yeah, definitely. I think this is going to be a good test here for a lot of guys, and especially the guys that kind of just snuck their way into the playoffs here, who might not have the best form, or some guys that did get early wins in the season, where it's like, okay, like now you're really going to be tested here. Like you're not going to be just handed the next round of the playoffs, and so I think that's it's nice that we kick off the playoffs here.
Yeah.
And I do think that it's going to be important. I was looking at, percentage wise, where the birdies are coming from, birdie attempts or opportunities are coming from. A lot of them are coming from, some of that approach putt distance. So it's not going to be, and I'm looking at it here. Let's see, let me pull it up real quick. Between 16 and 26, 23% of the birdie opportunities. So a little bit of a distance there, I think. So you're definitely gonna have to, you're gonna struggle, I think, to make those birdies, like you said, making the bogey avoidance guys. Looking at those guys too could be really important, because you're gonna have to make those maybe longer or tougher putts just to keep yourself within striking distance, where then you can make a move on the par fives and maybe the shorter par fours. But yeah, looking at this, there's not that many. So what do we have? 2 par fives, 4 par threes. So the par threes are definitely going to be important too, to kind of hold water there. I just think this is another week where, I do kind of like the weeks where it's more of an accuracy or just like having more control. I wouldn't say distance isn't completely irrelevant here by any means. And the tee to green off the tee, you gotta be good in those areas. But I do think I like the events that have a little bit more control too, where it's not just bombing it and trying to stick it close and see if you can make a putt. So, and I do think this is going to be more of a challenge that way. But, and you look at some of these guys that are in the field, like the guys that have been dominating all season, who the X-Man and Scotty Scheffler, not to skip ahead to the odds boards, but those guys don't have the greatest history here. Like if you compare them to other places where they've dominated. So that just leaves the door wide open to me as a potential shot to, not get as terrified to fade some of these guys that you typically would be just frightened to, completely thrown off if you even attempt to say the word fade for those two guys the way that they've been golfing this season. So I'm excited for it. We'll see. I don't know. I don't remember if there's like a bunch of bugs here or not. I mean, I know it's in Memphis. It can be. It's going to be hot, and you said the weather with the rain there just dumped a bunch of rain. So on top of the heat, we'll see if the bugs play any impact at all. I mean, kind of half-heartedly joking there, but yeah, I'm looking forward to it, man. I think I do have a pretty good read on it. I was attacking the same kind of ranges that you were as far as yardage buckets. That 125 to 175 was really where I was honed in on. Guys that have pretty good recent form from those areas, at least like the last 24 rounds. So we'll see what happens. I mean, it's not a perfect science, so if we can keep it going and if I can get an outright this week, that's really all I care about, Jack. And then some good golf. I want to see good golf.
Absolutely. And this is the kind of the last semi-challenge. I'd call it challenge for the players. Next week, they're going to Colorado for the first time since 2006. I believe this is a course that they've never played before. Joey, it is actually going to be 8,100 yards next week in Colorado because of all the altitude that they're going to be playing at. But those guys are going to be mashing the golf ball. I imagine, as we saw when the BMW Championship moved out of Illinois and went out east when they were at Caves Valley, and I think Patrick Cantlay won that bad boy. That's when he beat Bryson in that epic playoff. I think he won that thing at minus 27 under. I wouldn't be surprised if that's what we get in Colorado next week because the ball's just going to be traveling so far. And then Tour Championship for East Lake, that's a course where guys typically go low to win the whole thing anyway. So yeah, this is kind of the last little challenge for those who weekly tune in. Those are the courses that Joey and I like in particular. So yeah, hopefully it's a good little start to the playoffs here and finish to the final challenges of the season. But what do you say? You ready to go ahead and get into the odds board?
Let's get it, man. Haven't been more ready here. The only thing I'll say before we get going is I do not have my odds checker up because it kept trying to bring me back to 3-ball odds. So I'll just try to remember we don't even need to get into the website issues for this. I feel like I'm just bashing them weekly. I'm not trying to do that.
I don't know what's going on with odds checker, but it was doing the same thing for me as well. So I just wound up pulling up. I couldn't get Bet Rivers without logging in, and I just have my password saved. So I just pulled up FanDuel's. The reason I pulled up FanDuel's is for anyone who doesn't know, like I weekly shop all of these books to get the best offer. I'm not kidding when I legitimately say, and this has been going on for months, DraftKings legitimately doesn't have a single line that's better than FanDuel. It's market price or worse. I promise you, do not bet with FanDuel. I think it's the biggest, or do not bet with DraftKings, excuse me. Go bet with FanDuel. Do not bet with DraftKings. I swear it's the biggest scam app out there. I don't know if you've noticed that, Joey, but as someone who
lately I have,
I think it's ever since, I'm not kidding. I'm not like a Barstool hater or anything. I have some conspiracies that ever since they partnered with Barstool, their odds have gone to shit. I'm someone who bets UFC basically every week as well. I never use DraftKings for UFC. For golf, DraftKings all the time for big events used to give out these plus 300 boosts. Nope, haven't done it.
Where's that been? I haven't seen those either.
It ever since Barstool. So yeah, I'm totally out on DraftKings, and anyone who uses it, I don't know why you'd take less odds or worse odds. Just go use literally any other site. And don't forget that DraftKings thinks we're just going to sit back and let them tax us for winning bets in 2025. So as if you didn't need another reason to go and delete your old DraftKings account, yeah, go and do it because they're literally garbage. But getting into the odds for this week here, Joey, we'll call it a
shout out to our sponsors.
Shout out to our sponsors, Bet Rivers, FanDuel. They'll give you good odds. Bet Rivers brought back their enhanced odds. I'm a big supporter of Bet Rivers because they brought back enhanced odds. I was still shouting them out, kind of hoping they were going to bring it back. I didn't know how long it was going to stick around. If they didn't, they did. That's the end of the story. I'm still a supporter there. But getting to the big five here that are starting things off for the St. Jude Championship at the top of the odds board, Scotty Scheffler plus 330. I don't know if there's another course on the PGA Tour that Scotty has worse history at than TPC Southwind. No finish better than 14th. It was actually the site of his last missed cut, Joey, 2 years ago. So last time Scotty Scheffler missed a cut was 2 years ago at this event. Still the tournament favorite, reasonably so, at plus 330. Xander Schauffele next at plus 800. Rory at plus 1,000. Morikawa at plus 1,200. And then Luddy F. Baby at 22-1. And of course, there could be some better numbers out there. I always recommend you shop and get the best number, which again, you will not find at DraftKings. Joey, what do you want to do at the top of the board here, my friend?
Well, I cheated a little bit because I did see on X who you had going this week. And, I'll just talk about the top before I get there. I hate the top threes prices. I just hate it. I mean, that's obvious. Even Rory, who does do well.
Really? I think Rory's number's fair.
Rory, anything under 10-1 to me, for Rory, I can't do it.
Not even the flat 10?
Flat 10, yeah, fine. Anything under, are you seeing a flat 10? Because I'm not seeing it. Oh, okay. Actually, here on FanDuel. Okay, so
FanDuel, there's a flat 10.
That is fair. I was looking at some other. This is probably where his best odds are. I don't know where the enhanced was at Bet Rivers. I don't think it was quite there. Maybe I could be wrong. But okay, if it's 10, fair number, especially the way that he's kind of rolled here. But as for Scotty and X-Man, nope, I just can't with their history here. And I know they've been terrific all season, historic runs. Could I see Scotty or Xander having good weeks here? Sure, because they're capable of it any week. But it just doesn't make sense for me to put my eggs in that basket, knowing that I'm going to have to bet one or two less golfers that I do like here, just because I'm sacrificing that to get to them. So I'm not going to do it. I'm going to say it. I'm with you, Jack, and I know where you're going here. And 14-1, and you know me, like if I got that feeling, usually he's up there somewhere. Somewhere he's up there. I'm not saying he's winning, but he's probably having a good week. And we've done this show enough that I do get those good feelings. And when I get those good feelings, Morikawa usually doesn't disappoint from at least having a good week. So I'm with you, Jack. On top of all the course key fit stats and history here, which I know you're going to bring up in the course and reason why and recent form, he has not finished lower than T23 since the Valero Texas Open way back in early April. Like this guy, he's having an excellent season for a guy that does not have a win this year, inside the top 20 in every major and with 2 top 5 finishes. I mean, I think it's a squad ride. So, I mean, we're bringing out the whole colony to Memphis, Tennessee to help him get this W, my friend, for Colin Morikawa. Now I need you to tell me why you're on him this week, because I mean, the feeling is mutual, my friend, and why you're not, if you are betting some of these other guys too. I don't want to spoil anything.
Yeah, dude, Colin has been so dynamite, and what's crazy, Joey, is the Valero Texas Open, where he's. I mean, that's the last finish outside of the top 25 for him. I was at that event, if you remember, and I watched him play there. That was the week before the Masters. And dude, he looked so lost for the majority of that tournament when I was watching him. I couldn't believe like the iron shots that he was hitting. And you bet on him the next week at the Masters, or actually you just had that future. So you rid with him. And I'm like, dude, I'm not feeling good about that, because he looked like dog shit at Valero last week. And then he went and contended in the thing. And ever since then, it's been full force ahead. And literally, if you told me at the Valero Texas Open that this would be Colin Morikawa's only top, that would be the last time he finished outside of the top 25 until the playoffs, I'd be like, you're fucking bonkers. Dude,
I didn't predict that. That's crazy.
Dude, he looked so lost. But yeah, man, he's been so good. And I know there are probably people who tune into the show week in and week out, read my articles week in and week out, that are probably sick of seeing Morikawa there, sick of tailing along with him, and he hasn't cashed through. But I really feel like you have to stick with him at this last tournament. Like this is the one you got to go with him at if you've been riding with him all summer long for a couple of different reasons. He's got a pretty good history here. He's finished inside the top 13 each of the last 2 years. T5 2 years ago. Last win that he had in the United States, which, believe it or not, Joey, was over 2 years ago at this point, came out of course that featured Bermuda surfaces, zoysia grass fairways, Narashino Country Club, Zozo Championship, the last place that Colin Morikawa earned a victory. We saw the zoysia grass fairways at Valhalla. Colin Morikawa was firmly in the mix there. And the irons, Joey, are so back. If you go and look at his Rick Rungood profile, if you're out there and you have a subscription to any one of these websites, go pull up Colin Morikawa's profile. Even go check Data Golf. His 2 best ball striking performances of the entire season have been his last 2 starts. They've just, funny enough, been his 2 worst results since the Masters. And that's just because the around the green and putting went a little lackluster again, which, you know, you make up reasons in your head to select certain guys. I'm going to give that to Colin Morikawa and just say, I think maybe over in Europe, the surfaces or the putting greens just were a little bit wonky for him. In Paris, I mean, he was one of the best from tee to green in the one of the best ball strikers in the field, was 57 out of 60 guys in strokes gained putting. But the reason I'm going to forgive him is prior to that, in America, on the courses he was used to facing on the PGA Tour, I believe he had gained at least 2 strokes in the short game categories in 9 consecutive events. Like, his short game was better than it ever was. When looking at his track record here, he had actually gained strokes around the green and putting each of the last 2 years here. So, yeah, a lot of reasons to stay positive on Colin Morikawa. And then just looking at my model, Joey, I mentioned in my article, over the last 24 rounds, he's actually ranked number 1 because some of these rankings, like, it's crazy. He's second in fairways gained, second in strokes gained approach, third in tee to green, third in proximity 150 to 175, fourth in proximity 175 to 200, fourth in par 4s 400 to 450, fifth in bogey avoidance, seventh in scrambling, ninth in off the tee, and 12th in greens gained over the past 24 rounds. Plus his course history, plus, as I mentioned, his comfortability on zoysia grass fairways. Like, there are some concerns historically about his Bermuda putting. I trust him here, though, and look, this tournament has been won by incredible ball strikers each of the last 3 years. Justin Thomas, Will Zalatoris, Lucas Glover. None of them are really known for their putting. Colin Morikawa, even though he's been a better putter this year, he's still not really known for that. There's just a lot of signs pointing at Colin Morikawa this week. I've been on him all summer long. And even though he hasn't gotten across the finish line in first place, other than that, there really aren't reasons to stop backing him. And, like, quite honestly, Joey, like, he really wasn't that far away from having the type of year Xander Schauffele had, if you really think about it. Like, Colin Morikawa could have come away with 2 majors this year. It's not really that far-fetched to think. Like, undoubtedly the best player on tour without a win this year. Give me Morikawa for one more week, brother. We ride.
Let's go. Yeah, I'm feeling it.
I do want to say, though, at the top of the board, just because this is an intriguing top, and I do want to share my thoughts on it, because I expect most people to probably begin their card somewhere around here with one of these 5. For me, it's definitely Scotty over Xander. I anticipate both of them will probably play well. Like, they're both just hitting the ball so well right now. And even though that Sunday at the Olympics didn't go Xander's way, like, all parts of his game are rolling at the moment. So I expect both of them to play well. It would be Scotty over Xander for me. Personally, if I had to, like, choose between the two, even with Scotty having the shorter odds, Rory was the only other one that I was really considering here. I think 10 to 1's a more than fair number. Like, outside of the majors and even at the US Open, right? Like, he finished second. We all know it wasn't the finish that he wanted, but outside of the Open, where he kind of got banged by the weather draw, like, Rory's been dynamite all year long. He's won the FedEx Cup playoffs 3 times. Like, we know this is the type of year he can turn it on. 10 to 1, I think was more than fair for Rory, but I just got a soft spot for Colin Morikawa right now, so I ultimately ended up on him.
Yep, I completely understand it. I mean, Rory was the one guy I think I could make the case, or we could make the case for being at 10 to 1. I'm petty like that. I mean, we're talking 10 point difference from 10 to 1 to 9 to 1, or a 1 point difference basically, and I wouldn't do it. But he
still matters
to me, yeah. But that 14 to 1, you get that Rivers enhanced, and that's a big difference from there too on Colin, the guy who's been just as dynamite as Rory. And popped in the majors this year too. So I mean, like, definitely can do it in this field. So yeah, man, I'm with you all the way.
All right, let's ride with Colin this week, baby. This week, or it's not happening in 2024 for Mr. Morikawa.
We said this though, wasn't it? Was it in the fall or was it early this season? Before he had the struggles at Valero, Texas, where you were like, yeah, like scared off of him at that point because he was so dog shit. But didn't we say that like earlier in the year that we thought he could have a really good year this year?
Oh yeah.
It's turned out to be the case, just without a win. He's had a great season this year. Like, that's one thing that we got right very early on, and you've rode with him, quite a bit this year. So I mean, I'm hoping it pays off for you and me, brother. Like,
yeah,
we're due.
It's been frustrating, and a couple of things there. I want to say, last time you had a good feeling about Morikawa, I believe, was the Memorial when he finished runner-up, and boy, did he give Scotty a really good fight there. Hopefully, he'll be able to come in first last time. But you are usually right when you get a hunch about old Colin Morikawa. Yeah, he's usually in the mix there. But moving down to this next range here, Joey. Getting to, we'll call it the 25 to 40 range. We got Patrick Cantlay at 25, Hideki at 25, Never Tommy Fleetwood at 30, Victor at 35, along with Corey Connors, and then Sungjae, Justin Thomas, and Russell Henley all at 40. You got anyone in this range, Joey?
Man, this is a good field here. Good part of the field here.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, I've got thoughts on a lot of these guys. We always say never Tommy. He's 25 to 1, dude. Like, there's
a 30. There's a 30.
Is there a 30 out there? Okay, so is it on? Is not on FanDuel then?
It is on FanDuel.
Oh, it is on FanDuel. Okay.
I'm looking at it. Are you blind? Like, can you read?
Well, okay. I switched over to my note screen, and that's why. All right, he is 30 on FanDuel, but finishing second to Scotty at the Olympics, like, he's really starting to pique my interest lately, just because he's having such a good year without. He kind of feels like he's really on the verge this time, like breaking the Tommy curse.
Does
or
he?
Whatever you want to call it. This thing where he's great, but like can't quite get it done. Zero career tour victories. I just can't do it, man.
Yeah, no, I can't do it. Hold on though. This was the Tommy at the Olympics, his second place. Like, he's been good, not great though. Like, that was his first top 10 since the Masters.
But he's been consistently,
yeah, he's been like fine. He's been doing Tommy things, like giving some people hope, leaving breadcrumbs, and then literally the most Tommy thing ever, winning the fucking silver medal. He's always the bridesmaid. He is the silver medalist.
Eventually, though, dude, like, I don't know, man. And this is just, we construct our narratives every week. That's something you say on the show all the time.
Definitely.
My narrative for Tommy is starting to get to a point of, and it's not going to happen this week. It won't happen next week. It won't happen the week after that. I'm talking more so like next season, possibly even in the fall if he shows up to some of this stuff.
He'll be playing DP World Tour.
Yeah, he's probably not going to be there, but I just feel like he's starting to get.
Sorry to interrupt. He might play at the Zozo. He might play at the Zozo for you. You never know.
And that would be a good spot for him too.
Wouldn't be in America.
No, that'd be a great spot for him. Didn't I take him as a freaking one and done there?
Exactly. That's the joke. It's perfect. Maybe the one fall event that Tommy could play, it's the Zozo, where you took him in one and done randomly in like 2021. And I don't know why that's like funny to me, and I'll never forget it. But it is. But continue on. Tommy's getting towards that age. I didn't mean to cut you off. I just had funny blips in my mind.
Well, yeah, and then it kind of almost goes over my head, but then you reel me back in, and it starts to click back as, that did happen, you fucking idiot. Tommy, I think he's starting to get to an age though where, like, eventually it will happen. Like, you have to mature as a golfer. Like, that's what that's my narrative in my head, and it's not going to be right now. I'm just saying, I think I'll call it right now. Next season, Tommy gets his first PGA Tour victory.
All right.
I don't know if that's bold. That's probably not bold at all, because he's 25 to 1 this week. So he's kind of a favorite in a field of 70, basically. But I'm going to say he does get the job done. Let's see if we can pinpoint where, though. I mean, it's never Tommy season until he does it. But yeah, other than that, man, this range though, like, I really like Matsuyama this week. There's just too many guys that I like more than Matsuyama. And he just hasn't come through for me like I've expected him to in certain spots. So I feel like I have to leave that alone. And I don't want to, but that's the guy that's probably my favorite here. I'm seeing a lot of love this week for Sun JM for good reason. But that's probably, I don't remember where you shut this down at. If it was it just all the 40-1 guys too?
Yeah, I stopped at 40, stopped with Sung Jae, JT, and Henley. So 25 to 40 to one pocket.
Okay, so I did get a 40-1 in there. No wins to show for it this year, but the models love him.
Oh,
come on.
Love him.
The models love him. Dude, he's having a great year. Russell Henley, 40-1. I thought was a really good number here. He's just a terrific season. Fifth at the Open, T7 at the U.S. Open, T6 at St. Jude last year. He's an accuracy guy. He's pretty good on Bermuda, and he's been fantastic from that 125 to 175 yard approach shot bucket lately. Second in the 125 to 150 range in this field over the last 24 rounds. So Russell Henley is definitely a guy that I could see making a serious impact this week, and that is my second bet so far, man. What are you thinking in this range?
Yeah, really interesting range. I think Cantlay's playing better golf. I just don't think I'm going to get to him at 25 to 1, even though he lost in a playoff here last year. It was Matt Vincenzi for Golf WRX on X asked Justin Ray if there's ever been a player who has lost in a playoff and then come back and won that same event the next year in PGA Tour history. And it happened last in like the 70s. Not to say that Patrick Cantlay can't go and do that, just to say that it's a little bit of a rare feat. And I never really love Patrick Cantlay on Bermuda. I'd more be inclined to bet on him next week. I think at the BMW Championship, that wherever that tournament has been played historically has just been a really good event for Patrick Cantlay for whatever reason, but I'm not going to get there. I'm not going to get to Tommy at 30 to 1, although I did give Tommy a little bit of a hard look, but like ultimately, like deep down inside, like I don't think I can ever get myself to do that. It like has to be like a 50 or 60 for me to like seriously commit to Tommy. I was thinking about Hideki, but I don't know if you heard the story about what happened to his caddy and his coach in London after they were traveling back from the Olympics. Did you hear that?
I did not hear that.
Dude, the news just broke today. Apparently Hideki got like robbed. I don't know if it was like at like gunpoint on the streets or what.
Holy shit.
But yeah, Hideki and his team got robbed in London, and the robbers stole his caddy, Shota, and his coach's passport. So they're both not with him for this week or next week. And I'm just wondering if Hideki's a little bit like rattled about that, like a little bit maybe. And 25 to 1. And I've always talked about chalky Hideki as always a little bit of a sketchy Hideki.
Always.
So, for those reasons I'm out on Hideki, but I hope everything's okay with him and Shota. I really do hope everything's all right there.
That's crazy, man. So they're still there right now?
I don't know if they're there, but I know Shota and his coach couldn't travel to the United States because of their situation. I don't know if they're trapped in London or whatnot. I didn't like read into the finer details, but I saw multiple reports about it today. So yeah, definitely a fucked up situation. Hoping everything like major concern wise is okay. But ultimately, yeah, I'm going to pass on a chalky Hideki at 25 to 1. Victor, I'll just wait for next year. I'm totally out on Victor right now. His short game's been fucking abysmal. Corey Connors at 35 to 1. Listen, I love me some Corey Connors. That might be the worst number on the book. This isn't the Valero Texas Open. If everywhere was the Valero Texas Open, Corey Connors would like compete for the Grand Slam every year, but it's not. So unfortunately, even though he is putting better, I can't get there at 35. I do think these 40s, all three of them, are pretty good value. JT, I like JT. I really like JT at this course. He's got great history here. But the weird thing that I've kind of noticed about Justin Thomas, what I will say is I don't think his season's been as bad as some people think it's been. Like there have been a lot of sprinkles of high-end finishes, and he's in the top 20 in the FedEx Cup this year. Like it's been a nice bounce back year for JT. But he's still like not able to put it together for 4. Like he's one of those guys that has one really good round, maybe 2 good days, and his bads are still really bad. I feel like he's like not fine-tuned enough, but he started to show us some flashes. I definitely think he's on the right track. I wouldn't call anyone out for betting him at 40-1 on this course. I don't hate Russell Henley, especially on Bermuda. That's where he does his best work for sure. I just, I do worry a little about chalky Russell Henley a little bit, and also whether or not I think he can win this event. I do think he's starting to trend towards being that type of player more and more based on what we've seen him do in the majors the last 2 years. And I was on him, I think 125-1 at the Open Championship when he finished T4 and was kind of in it there on Saturday. You mentioned the approach reasons, his approach numbers are really good. I think I'd rather bet Sung Jae personally, but they're both they're both very similar, right? In terms of can they actually win this event, but they've both been playing so good. Sung Jae's just kind of been someone that I've been riding with, and I do think, man, just something has flipped with this guy. He's been dialed in all parts of his game. The Bermuda putting's been really good. The Southeast has always treated Sung Jae very well in his career before too. Got some good results here, finished inside the top 15 each of the last 2 years. So yeah, I ultimately ended up going Sung Jae 40-1 in this range, but you can make a case for all three of those guys at 40. Those are probably my favorites from 25 to 40-1.
Yeah, Sung Jae is absolutely in play. And same goes for, can't believe I'm saying it because JT has not been someone I've been betting for a while now, but you're right, man.
This year.
You're right, though. He's had a very under the radar, sneaky good season because it's not been great, but Spieth in the sense of he has those 1 or 2 days that just really torture him and just can't quite get to where he needs to be. But overall, he's golfing much better than Spieth is. I'm not comparing the two for this season. But yeah, just overall, I just don't trust him to get the job done yet. That's just kind of where I'm at. I don't think he can put it together, like you said, for a full 4 days. I don't see it.
Yeah, I agree. And just a similar reason for Morikawa why I'm going with Sung Jae. It's kind of the last opportunity, I think, to really ride him. And I have been on him the last couple of weeks, and he's been close. He had the T12 at the John Deere, T4 at the Scottish, T7 at the Open Championship. He's been playing really well, and he hasn't disappointed me. And I was off him last week at the Wyndham. I didn't want to bet a super over popular Sung Jae at 16-1 in an event where, as I referenced last week, was I think a little bit of a toss up. There was just so much stuff going on. I didn't really want to get to that number. But Sung Jae at 45-1 again on another shorter, more positional type of course where he can hit his fairways, he hits his greens. The putter's been really good as of late, really good off the tee numbers here. Usually finds a lot of fairways and can gain strokes with his irons as well. And his ball striking numbers and his finishing position have been getting better here year after year since his debut. So yeah, I just wound up sticking with Sung Jae. But there's a lot of good bets I think in this 20, 25 to 40 to range. Moving down though, so we get to, let's call it 45 to 65, Joey. We got Tom Kim and Tony Finau at 45, Cam Young, Billy Horschel, your boy the Ruben, Aaron Rye at 50, Sam Burns and Sahith Theegala at 55, and then Adam Scott and Sugar Shane Lowry at 65. I'm guessing you got at least one bet in this range.
Yeah, right now I have two.
Ooh, who you got?
Wait a second. 1, 2, possibly three. We'll see. So starting at the worst odds of the group, Tom Kim.
Yeah.
Who I thought was a really good number though, still at 45-1. Over the last 24 rounds of the guys in this field, he's first in fairways gained, and from that 125 to 150 yard bucket as well. That range really, and the 125 to 175 yard range, like we said, that's where mostly I'm looking this week for the correlations. He's also first in driving accuracy, 10th in approach, 11th off the tee, 12th tee to green, 24th in bogey avoidance, 11th in scrambling, 9th greens gained, and 14th strokes gained TPC Southwind for this field. So with a 13th and 24th finish over the last two trips here, or in his two trips here, missed the cut at the Open. He got the 8th place at the Olympics, 13 under a couple weeks ago. So I think he's he's getting back in that really decent form here. And I like him, man. It's anything with like an accuracy type of course, especially. I think Tom Kim can have a really good week, and I think 45 is more than fair for a number here. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, Tom Kim is probably the guy that I didn't bet who I'm scared of the most. It was him or Sung Jae for me at 45-1, and they're both very similar. Ultimately, it was literally little hairs that made the difference because I've been riding Tom Kim a lot throughout the summer, and he hasn't let me down either. Like, he's been really good, even though he hasn't won yet. I like that Sung Jae has good off the tee numbers here, and he hits the ball a little further than Tom Kim. And also what it came down to was just Sung Jae's putting a little bit better at the moment and is a better Bermuda putter historically than Tom Kim, but there are little nuances. Like if you go and look at their profiles or like where they rank at in the models, like they're very similar. I think in my model, Sung Jae is 10, Tom Kim is 7. And like, it's just funny. Like they have a lot of similar statistics, characteristics. They tend to play well on the same courses, shorter accuracy style, right? Like we've seen them both went on those shorter setups. Both have won in Las Vegas before at the Shriners Children's Open. So it's just funny, some of those similarities. But yeah, Tom Kim was they were the same odds. I got Sung Jae at 45-1. I'm definitely scared about passing on Tom Kim. He was one stroke off being the first round leader here last year, and I want to say he was 6th going into the final round a year ago before kind of fading and not having the best Sunday. So I definitely like Tom Kim. Definitely get it. Admittedly, a little scared of not betting him this week.
Don't let him be your Aaron Rye this week, because I feel like that's exactly what you said. Where you were a little scared of Aaron Rye last week, I believe, was the guy that you said, but I could be wrong. But dude, maybe that's your exposure to him. Maybe the first round leader bet.
I'm thinking about it because I told you before recording, there's a lot of guys I wanted to get to that I ultimately couldn't. And I do think I might get in some props for first round leaders this week because there are some guys I like. And Tom Kim is certainly one of them. Certainly one of them.
Yeah. Definitely.
Can't bet them all though.
No, you have to make some decisions. I do understand, but
and low key missing out on Aaron Rye isn't going to cost me sleep, to be quite honest. Like I've never really been there with Aaron Rye. Like you've been there way more than I've been there with Aaron Rye. Like this isn't one that like I was chasing for years like you were and you finally got. Like I've never really been there on Aaron Rye. I wasn't there with him throughout the summer. I never really trusted his putter on Sunday. His putter didn't really come through on Sunday, but Max Grazerman pissed it away enough for him to win. So not knocking him, congratulations, but like that one's not going to make me lose sleep. You know what I mean?
It was technically the wrong read last week for me because Grazerman had that in the bag and just blew it. But it worked out. That's it.
Wild.
That's all that matters. But no, I'm with you. You're not losing sleep over something that like you kind of lucked your way into a win just for being solid. The other guys in this range though that we're looking at, because I do really like this spot here. Finau, there's too many good golfers. Cross them off.
He's too much of a family man. I think he just travels with his kids. There's good players here. He can't do it.
He's a top 10 waiting to happen, and that's it.
T7. He loves it.
He loves it. Sam Burns, Bermuda Burns, kind of speaks for itself. There's a reason why they call him that. I think he's in a good position here. I haven't bet him yet, but that was one of the guys in this range. And then one of your boys, who most of the time you're on more so than I am, but Sahith Theegala, 55-1. I don't normally go this route, especially in like the big tournament fields. I don't think he's quite there for the big ones. But this is a little different to me. It feels like a good setup for Theegala, who is T13 in both trips here to TPC Southwind, second in strokes gained versus expectation in this field. Like him off the tee and the accuracy here. He's been good on Bermuda as well. I do worry a little bit about the irons here, some shakiness there, but overall, I like the price and I like the fit. So it wouldn't shock me to see Theegala at least near the leaderboard. And at 55-1, I will take the shot there with Theegala.
Yeah.
What are you thinking as like the Thagala guy, basically, between the two of us?
Yeah, I always love me some Sahith, and I think it's a really good number. And he's played here twice, middling, like not bad results, not great. But his short game has been like phenomenal here. I want to say out of all players who have played 4 rounds at this course, I think he is third in strokes gained total, and it's literally because of his short game. He's really never driven it or hit a good approach shots around here, so that's kind of left me a little bit wary, and that's ultimately what left him off of my card. I was a little bit higher on Sahith early in the year because there was a bit more consistency I felt in his game. He's still been popping up for a couple of high-end finishes, like at the 3M Open, he still finished T12 there, and he had that T4, I believe, at the Genesis Scottish Open a couple of weeks prior after missing the cut at the Open Championship. There just hasn't been a lot of consistency with his irons or off the tee on this course or just in his last few starts. I want to say he dropped strokes with his approach to the field at the 3M Open, which of course is not going to be as strong of a field as it is here. I thought about Sahith for a little bit because I do believe 55-1 is like a really fair number for him. I was pretty confident earlier in the year that he was going to win something like semi-notable. I don't know if I'm as confident as I am in that statement right here, right now, like asking him to win a playoff event. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it's a good number, but I'm just like not in love with it or in love with his current form like I was at the beginning of the season when I was like almost betting him every week.
Well, it's really tough, man, because I'm looking at the approach numbers and like true strokes gained approach, he's been below the field for the last 3 tournaments, 3M Open, the Open Championship, and the Genesis Scottish. So that's not a good trend. Like you got to have some pretty good approach numbers to actually win a tournament. Like most of the time, like this is not, that's every week.
Here you do.
Especially
here you do. Yeah, you're not going to putt luck your way into winning this bad boy. Just usually doesn't happen that way with how tough it is from tee to green.
Yeah, so that's going to be my one dummy play of the day.
I wouldn't call it a dummy play. Like, I think it's a fair number. There's just like some question marks around Sahith. We know his upside. Like, we know the upside's there. So I don't hate it for sure. And I like that. Like I said, I thought about it. I just ultimately want a different direction in this range.
Yeah.
I got to Billy Horschel, 50-1.
Actually, Billy Ho.
Actually, one of my favorite plays of the week, man. Billy Horschel in good form in the Southeast on a Bermuda course. A lot of signs pointing towards Billy Horschel for me this week. At the Open Championship where he finished T2, wasn't really on anyone's radar going into that. Wasn't like playing tremendously well like he was a little bit earlier in the season when he picked up that win and then got himself back into some signature events. But in that T2 at the Open Championship, Joey, he actually posted the second best ball striking week of his entire career. And I definitely felt like there was going to be some regression coming after that. And a lot of people were fading him at the 3M Open until he ultimately ended up withdrawing from there. I kind of expected maybe a little bit of fatigue and that carrying over. And I, again, certainly expect at least a little bit of a regression in the ball striking numbers. And that's why I ended up like staying off of him last week at, that number at the top of the board ultimately. But I was pretty impressed to see that he gained another 5.3 strokes ball striking, which has actually now been his 2 best ball striking performances in back-to-back weeks. And one thing that I think also kind of gets undershadowed about Billy Horschel is while he hasn't like ever been the most consistent throughout the course of his career, 8 wins, he's now 37 years old. He has won some big events, man, like won the BMW Championship and the Tour Championship, albeit it was back in 2014, but we also saw him won the Memorial a couple of years ago, the WGC Dell Technologies match play event in 2021, which featured like the best of the best. He's also got 3 top 25 results and 4 career trips to TPC Southwind. Again, I usually like Billy Ho in the Southeast. I mentioned the Bermuda Greens. 4 of his 8 career wins have come on courses with Bermuda putting surfaces. He gained nearly 4 strokes on the greens last week at Wyndham, which not only are they Bermuda surfaces as well, but actually both Sedgefield and here are champion Bermuda greens. Like they're the exact same grass type. So we'd like to see Billy Ho putting well there. Champion Bermuda greens were also featured at Valhalla, where Billy Horschel finished T8 there as well, gained 3 strokes on the greens there. And as I mentioned, Joey, Zoysia grass fairways, a little bit of a nuance on the PGA Tour. Billy Horschel has been really good in his career on Zoysia grass fairways. East Lake in Atlanta, I referenced earlier, might be the most notable Zoysia grass course on the PGA Tour. Billy Horschel has a win there, a solo second, and 2 other top 10s. Valhalla, I mentioned Valhalla for having Bermuda greens. Valhalla has Zoysia fairways, where he finished T8 earlier this season. The Zozo Championship, which I mentioned with Colin Morikawa, Narashino Country Club. Billy Horschel's teed it up there once. He finished T6. And even going back to the 2018 PGA Championship at Bellerive in St. Louis that Brooks Koepka won over Tiger Woods. Not a great result for Billy Horschel, but he gained over 8 strokes ball striking at that event, which outside of this year's major championship, Open Championship, was his second best ball striking performance ever in a major. So there's a lot of little fun trinkets there with Billy Horschel. And again, just in good form on Bermuda, kind of in his neck of the woods as a Florida boy in the Southeast. He's known, capable of handling those hot and humid temperatures. Those are nothing new for a guy who grew up in Florida, went to the University of Florida as a Gator. So yeah, all in on Billy Horschel, 50-1. And then I also got to Sam Burns at 55-1 as well. I think that's a really good number for Sam Burns. You referenced Bermuda Burns. He also, I think 4 of his 6 PGA Tour wins have come on Bermuda surfaces. He's been a little Justin Thomas-like, wherein 1.5 rounds have been really solid, but his bads haven't been nearly as bad as Justin Thomas's have been. He finished T12 at the 3M Open, T31 at the Open, T9 at the US Open, which is his first top 10 ever in a major championship, T15 at the Memorial before that, T10, T13 at the Wells Fargo. Sammy Burns quietly, I think, is also playing better than some people think. And the short game has been marvelous. Around the green, he's gained at least 1 stroke in 8 consecutive starts. The putting upside is always there on Bermuda. And in his debut here at this course in 2021, he lost out in the playoff to Abraham Ancer along with Hideki Matsuyama. In that tournament, he gained over 6 strokes putting. The strokes gained on the greens haven't been as good for him in his last 2 trips, but I know the upside is capable there. The ball striking, the approach numbers are finally starting to return, Joey, after dropping strokes and pretty significant strokes in 3 consecutive events. He gained over 3 strokes at the Open Championship against one of the best fields in golf, and then followed that up by gaining another 2 strokes with his irons at the 3M Open. So starting to think Sam Burns is trending a little bit in a better direction. Another Southern boy from good old Louisiana that should be able to handle the heat. And I thought 55-1 was a fair number for a guy who, hasn't won in a while, but is a legitimate winner on the PGA Tour and has beaten some really good guys in those wins, like winning the match play, like Billy Horschel. We also saw him outduel Scotty Scheffler at the Charles Schwab Challenge in a playoff a couple of years ago. Sam Burns is a capable player. And I think 55-1 is a good number for him.
It's a great number. He's got the upside to be able to take this thing down. It's not a question. Especially, I like what you're mentioning there about where his game is and what he does well. What he does well at, what you would think would translate here as well this week. So, you firsthand experience. He can be a hothead. So that's my only hesitation is that one round where he just starts. Things go a little downhill, and can he pull himself up? You wouldn't think that he's a hothead, but some of the stuff that you saw, I was I don't know, man. Maybe that's why he has those one round or that kind of brings him down just a little bit, or keeps him to a top 10 instead of winning. I'm so on the fence with Sam Burns this week, but I like the points that you're making about him a lot.
Yeah, and I just think it was too good of a number ultimately for me to pass up.
Yeah, I agree. It's a great number. What are your thoughts about? I see a lot of love this week for Adam Scott. Sometimes I do see you betting him every once in a while. Are you interested this week, or is that a no-go?
That phase kind of fizzled out. Kind of got sick of playing that game with Adam Scott. Just kind of got sick of playing that game. But no, he has been really good, man. The Open champion, I really thought he was going to win the Genesis Scottish Open until poor Robert McIntyre went and stole it from him like Rory stole it from Robert McIntyre the year before. So maybe that means Adam Scott's bound to win the Genesis Scottish Open in 2025. Maybe that's what it's telling us. But yeah, no, all facets of the game have been going for Adam Scott. Gain strokes in all 4 major categories and back-to-back starts. Both results have been inside the top 10. I think it's a really good number. I don't know. Do I see him winning FedEx Cup playoff event? Like, I know he's capable, but do I really see it happening? I don't know about that.
Yeah, you got to see the vision. If you don't see the vision, it's done.
I just really don't. And I like haven't bet Adam Scott all year. Not really inclined to.
Yeah, I'm pretty much with you there too. But I was curious about that. With so much love I'm seeing for him, it's like
it's a fine number. It's like a fine number. I don't love the number, but I think it's fine. Like if you did want to bet him.
Yeah, but like not to jump too far ahead here, but like Bezadenhout being lower, like the way that I think Bezadenhout should be like 65 and Scott should be 80, in my opinion. Pedigree aside.
That's tough because I realistically think like both of their odds are winning are probably like both pretty damn low. Like I think you're like
probably, yeah.
they're like very similar.
But they can't give everybody like 110 odds. You know what I mean? Like it has to be some kind of like it realistically, like Adam Scott should be like 100 to 1 in my opinion.
I think
I know that's crazy, but like
no, you're probably right. No, you're probably like his true winning odds of winning this tournament, probably 100 to 1. Yeah, same with Christian Bezadenhout, probably like 100 to 1. Adam Scott and Shane Lowry both being at 65 to 1. Like, who do you think's more likely to win? Who would you rather bet at 65 to 1, Adam Scott or Shane Lowry?
Shane Lowry's such a piece of shit in the 4th round.
Dude, I know, literally.
He's such a piece of shit.
Such an asshat.
Adam Scott, probably.
Yeah, I don't know.
Was that a I feel like you were gonna say Lowry, but I feel like I would.
No, I genuinely don't. Scott. I genuinely don't trust either of them.
I don't either.
Like, I don't trust either of them.
No, Davis Thompson was way more interesting at 70 to 1 to me. I was actually giving him kind of a hard look, and I couldn't do it, but yeah.
Outside of Tom Kim, Davis Thompson is the one who I have FOMO on the most this week, man. I really like Davis Thompson. I think I'm going to bet him first round leader.
Let's hear it.
Dude, it was down to Davis Thompson or to bury the lead. We'll just move on to this 70 to 100 to 1 range now. Since
I know we just started talking about it.
Literally, we already transitioned there anyway. Naturally, it was Davis Thompson or Sepp Straka for me, and I just went Straka at a better number. But what I will say is like, man, Davis continues to play good. Even though the one also like little drawback that kept me off him is the irons haven't really been good since he won, but literally every other part of his game has still been just as good as it was when he won. Like the putting's been just as good. He's a good Bermuda putter, plays all the time in Sea Island, Georgia, which is kind of like a little mecca for golf pros in the United States. There's a lot of Bermuda courses down there, short positional tracks. Like Davis Thompson is quite familiar with those types of courses. And also, Joey, I don't know if this has any correlation or not whatsoever, but think back in 2022. Sepp Straka, former winner of the John Deere Classic, in a playoff with Will Zalatoris last year. Lucas Glover.
Fun, man. Fun.
Lucas Glover, former winner of that playoff, was really fun and almost gave me a fucking heart attack.
Me too.
Lucas Glover won last year in a playoff over Patrick Cantlay, former winner of the John Deere Classic. What did Davis Thompson win this year?
John Deere Classic.
John Deere Classic. Again, I don't know if that has any correlation whatsoever, but it is a little interesting tidbit for sure. Man, yeah, I was really torn on this one. Like I was torn with Tom Kim and Sung Jae, Davis Thompson and Straka, like neck and neck. Ultimately, Thompson got beat down before I could pull trig to the 70, and Straka's remained at 80. So I ultimately ended up on Straka. But I really, really like Davis Thompson, and I really would like to get to him in some other way. The reason I ended up on Straka, though, as well, is Bermuda courses. He has so many. I honestly didn't even realize this, and I have to give credit to Steve Bamford. I don't know if you see any of his stuff ever on X or in any posts anywhere, Joey. If you don't follow him already, I definitely highly recommend you do. You can find him at Bamford Golf on X for anyone out there who wants to check him out as well. I read most of his previews like every single week going into a tournament, and he pointed out how many high-end finishes Sepp Straka has on Bermuda grass, in addition to his runner-up finish to Will Zalatoris here in 2022. Joey, since the start of 2022, here are all the top 10s that Sepp Straka has on courses with Bermuda greens. He has a win and a T5 at PGA National, host of the Cognizant Classic, a runner-up finish at the Country Club of Jackson, came so close to getting that Cock Trophy at the Sanderson Farms Championship. He also has a T3 and a T5 at Harbor Town for the RBC Heritage, a T7 at Eastlake at the Tour Championship, a T8 at Quail Hollow for the Wells Fargo, and a T9 at TPC Sawgrass for the Players Championship. And most of those tournaments that I just listed off are like big boy events. And those are all top 10s that Sepp Straka has recorded in the last 2 years. He's also a Southeast guy. I mean, he's an Austrian, but he's a Southeast United States guy ever since he moved to the U.S. He lives in Birmingham, Alabama, of all places. Went to the University of Georgia, so he knows the heat. He's familiar. He's handled it well at TP Sawgrass before. And even though he has cooled off a little bit, he hasn't racked up a single top 20 since the Memorial over 2 months ago. His ball striking numbers have still been really sharp. He's 4th in fairways gained, 15th in strokes gained approach over the past 24 rounds, 7th in strokes gained approach, and 11th in strokes gained tee to green his last time out at the Olympics. Even though he finished T35, he's gained at least 3 strokes ball striking in 8 of his last 10. I do worry about the putter, but when he finished runner-up on this course 2 years ago, he gained over 6 strokes. And looking through most of those high-end finishes on Bermuda tracks that I just referenced, most of those high-end finishes came with Sepp Straka at least gaining 2 to 3 strokes putting. It's been a little bit of a tough skid for him, but at least I know it's in there. And he's someone who just hits a ton of fairways, has good distance. The irons have been on for the majority of the season, and I thought 80 to 1 was a good number. So I ended my card at Sepp Straka at 80 to 1, and he legitimately is one of the few guys from down here that like I would still have trust in to go toe-to-toe with one of the bigger names down the stretch of this event.
Yeah, I mean, tons of great points. I mean, the fact that he's second in driving accuracy over the last 24, like that's what more are you looking for on top of the fact that he can compete in some of these bigger and tough course type of fields. Like literally we've seen it here from him. So I like that call a lot. Where does your, just out of curiosity, where does your model, if you have it up right now, put
I do.
In comparison him and Davis Thompson, or just where does he have Sepp Straka in your model?
So I have Sepp Straka at 21 in everything that I'm looking at over the last 24 rounds. Davis Thompson is 32, but it's literally just because of his approach. He's 54th in strokes gained approach over the last 24 rounds, and that's because he hasn't gained strokes on his approach shots in 3 consecutive tournaments. So like his wedge yardages aren't very good. He doesn't have any history at TPC Southwind. He's never played here before. And then his history on firm greens in Bermuda isn't the best. However, he's like started to figure things out with his putter more this year, but it's just really been the irons that are keeping him down in the rankings so far.
That makes a lot of sense. So
he's sorry to interrupt. He's 1st in strokes gained around the green and 3rd in bogey avoidance, 10th in tee to green over the last 24 rounds, 6th off the tee. So like literally other than his irons, everything has been just as good as it was since he won, just the irons haven't.
Yeah. I mean, that around the green, holy shit. Like,
dude, the kid can chip and putt. He's fucking sick.
Yeah, and that could be, I mean, who knows? That could be important this week.
Usually is.
I think it's going to be. So I had those guys 21 and 23.
Okay.
In mind. So very, very close. So that's why I was interested, like how close. I mean, it sounds like other than the approach, though, you'd be on Thompson too. But
yeah,
I don't know. It's a really good call, though. I do like the Sepp Straka bet a lot.
Yeah, and like he's been a guy that I've ridden throughout the course of the season too. Like that's what's tough about this one. Like I feel like it's that last semi-real odds board. We're only going to get 50 guys next week. Everything's going to be condensed in the odds board. Like it's kind of my last opportunity to ride with my guys, and I'm doing it.
Yep.
I guess the got to be.
Yeah, see if you can make a little push here.
Yeah, I did end my card at Sepp Straka, but there were other guys that I did think that were interesting from down here. Not like a ton, and I don't know if I trust any of them ultimately to win, but like I referenced earlier, there are some guys I like that I think I want to get some money on in different ways. But are there any other guys you're thinking of outright betting past 80 to 1, 90 through the rest of the board?
I've got one.
Who you got? Jason Day, 90 to 1?
Nah. It's not a beautiful day anymore.
He's ass. I honestly don't even know how he's here. No, I do know how he's here, but like, what has he done?
He had a good early season, dude. He's been awful though. Well, he's snuck in some decent finishes, but dude, it's been nothing consistent.
He's dennying his way around everywhere. He's just gaining strokes putting every week.
It's fucking terrible.
Have you seen it? Have you seen his Rick Run Good profile?
I don't even want to look.
It's basically the same as Minwoo, Denny, or Mackenzie Hughes. Like, they just suck everywhere else and just gain a million strokes putting.
I'm about to look here in a second.
He gains the occasional strokes around the green and off the tee, but the irons have literally been awful. He's gained strokes. He's gained strokes since March with his irons.
Dude, this is entirely red for all the categories that we were looking at that would be good. Yeah, scrambling. He's been
Look how bad his ball striking's been.
Really good on Bermuda. The ball striking.
Of course, you find the little highlights.
I know.
Your boy up. Oh, he's been good on Bermuda. Oh yeah, he's only been dog shit all year. He's good at Bermuda though.
Good at everything that we don't care about really that much.
That's hilarious.
I'm gonna find the one little nugget, but no, the one guy that I do have interest in, I got to go back to the well.
Is it Tom Hoagie?
No, not that well.
Wrong well.
That's a deep well. That's like, you know, the Scary Movie well or something. Like something's popping up there that you do not want to see.
Who are you going back to? Who is it? Is it Dietrich?
Nah, man, we're going further than that. 200 to 1.
200. Wow. You're going to Rosie, aren't you?
Nope.
Not. I should have known. It's Vegas.
Come on, man. Johnny Vegas. So dude, he was awful last week putting too.
I literally texted you, like, if he putt, or what I say on the show, I'm like, if he putts again, he's going to be in it. And low-key, I think he was 2 under through 2, and I'm like, oh, fuck, here comes Johnny Vegas. And then he lost 5, and then he lost 5 strokes putting, as one does.
Oh, no, it was a nightmare from then on. He had like his moments, and honestly though, he didn't have the greatest week all around last week. So that makes me kind of think like, okay, coming off the big dub, you know what I mean? Like maybe he just wasn't totally there. Like even the putting's never going to be great. We know that, but everything but the putting, you know, which wasn't, everything else wasn't that good either. He's good in, and like, I feel like that would be, that's something that we need if he's good at everything else here. And we've seen bad putters do well, or like, you know, average putters have good weeks here. So I'm like 200 to 1, dude. I got to throw the dart there. Like Vegas, he's a tour winner. Like this isn't a guy that just snuck in to the fight, which I mean,
Johnny Vegas, his x-rays just came back. He's got that dog in him.
He's got that dog in him. He might see red. He's a little bull once he gets towards the top. So like,
what I will say is, I think this is a much better track for Johnny Vegas's skill set when it's right. Like, yeah, you could absolutely ball strike your way around Sedgefield, but you absolutely have to make putts to win here, and you kind of do have to do that here. But like, ball striking is really how you separate yourself here, and we know Johnny Vegas is a goddamn good ball striker. So like 200 to 1, I don't think is terrible. I'd like, if you gave me an option to bet Johnny Vegas 50 to 1 at the Wyndham or 200 to 1 at TPC Southwind, I'd take the 200 to 1.
Yeah, I mean, well, real quick too, like we're looking at these, he's 6th the past 24 rounds, strokes gained tee to green, 17th strokes gained approach the last 24, 2nd off the tee, and 22nd in bogey avoidance too. So, I mean, the bogey avoidance part really actually sticks out to me here, because you're going to have those rounds where you just break even and move on. Like, yeah, that's it. Just break even and move on. So I feel like if he can kind of hang around enough, and yeah, man, 200 to 1, like, come on. Like I have to at this point, because he's already paid off. So like,
throw some respect on your boy's name.
I know we got to give him some respect, but I'm curious though, and we bring this up a lot, and people are probably annoyed with it at this point, but where did he fall on your model this week?
Vegas was up there, 16.
Oh, 16. Shit, dude, you got him higher than I do too. I got him 18.
Yeah, I mean, dude, he's 2nd off the tee, 6 tee to green. Like, the ball striking plays, brother.
Yeah, yep.
I just don't know if I trust him to not lose 4 strokes putting.
Well, we never can trust him for that.
I don't hate it from a shot down the board here.
No, we got to do it. But yeah, so you have nobody that's 100 to 1 or higher. You're staying with a solid little core of guys you feel pretty confident in then.
Yeah, I am. But like I said, there are other guys who I think I do want to get some action on in different ways. Let me see. I got to pull up their profiles real quick so I can speak a little bit more about them. The first one that comes to mind though is Taylor Pendrith. Dude, why is my Rick Run Good being weird?
For some reason, it doesn't want to run good. Come on, Rick.
I know, like randomly when I'm typing in my top right corner, it's like not loading, and it did it for a second straight time. But Taylor Pendrith is someone who I believe has 2 consecutive top 5 finishes, or 2 consecutive 5th place finishes. I want to say if my Rick Run Good app will load. But regardless, he was someone I liked from down here. Who else did I like from down here? Cam Davis, as big as 150 to 1, has good results here. And even though he was completely lost last week, which really disappointed me.
Me too.
Because his tee to green had been so good coming in. His tee to green had been so good at that course. I don't know what wound up happening. He just didn't have it. But still, prior to that, the ball striking had been so good. And he has 2 top 13 finishes in back-to-back on this course. I don't know if I like trust him to win, but Joey, I was thinking about, this is what I was thinking about today. And this was a question that I wanted to talk with you about. There's a 125 to 1, as I'm pulling up Pendrith here. There's 125 to 1 on Cam Davis at Bet Rivers with the each way. This is not the bet. This is not the enhanced offers. So 125 to 1. That's with top 6 places each way. Do you know how each ways work?
Yeah, I never bet them, but I have a general idea. I just don't. I know you look at that though.
I don't really bet them. I think I've bet them once or twice. But so here's the reason. Like, this is an example where it might make sense in my mind. So Cam Davis top 10 in this tournament is plus 550. But if you bet him at the each way at 125 to 1, you get 6 places. So you don't get the top 10, but you get 6 places. But what it does is it cuts that 125 to 1 number by 1/5. And now that's your each way bet. So 125 to 1, you cut that in 1/5. That's still 25 to 1 for me to have Cam Davis at top 6 odds. Yeah, the problem is I have to match that with what I put in the outright bet. So like if I put 4 down on the outright, that means I can't bet the each way without betting the outright. You know what I mean? That's the point of the each way. So I have to put 4 on him outright at 125 to 1, but that also gets me $4 on 25 to 1 for him to come in the top 6, which would pay me my money back for my total outrights for the entire week. You know what I'm saying? As opposed to betting him top 10 at plus 550, I can get him to get those top 6 places at 25 to 1. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. And I think it's a great strategy to take because realistically, if a guy's getting in the top 10, it's got a great shot to finish top 6.
And it's with ties, it does slash it a little bit more, but still, like,
yeah. What is the it's the dead heat, right?
Yes, it is dead heat, so it would slash it more, but like, so that's kind of where I'm torn, and that's what I was like kind of thinking about doing maybe with Cam Davis this week, as opposed to just taking the plus 550 is still a good number. Don't get me wrong, but like when you have an opportunity to get a 25 to 1, and you only have to put $4 on it to pay out 100, you know what I mean? Like, it's a little interesting.
I mean, it's kind of worth it if you're doing 4 on the outright, 4 on the top 6. Basically, that's you're an $8 investment,
right? I have them in the outright though. At least like it's not my typical payout, but I'd still get $250. I'd still get $508 off that payout plus the top 6, so $600. It would almost pay for like a normal outright.
Right. I mean, I think it's worth it.
Yeah, I think I might do it.
I think it's worth it, especially this is a guy that you've been high on for the last like few weeks, and he's been, obviously let us both down last week, but you're one of the main reasons why I bet him last week because it was all kind of lining up for him to do well. I mean, it could just be an off week. Like that's
right.
We see that.
And I don't think anyone's going to want to touch him because like he might have been a little popular last week because it was a Donald Ross course with good results there. I feel like he might have burned people, and I don't know if anyone is going to go back.
100%. People are pissed.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I wouldn't put it past Cam Davis to bounce back.
This does not like show anything or like prove anything really that we're talking about here, but I'm just curious of what his DFS percentage owned is right now. So I'm looking at Roto Grinders. I'm pulling it up
You can
as
find it
we
on Rick
speak.
Rungood too.
Their percentage. Yeah, I know. I've found that
Is it a little wonky?
not wonky. I just know that like when it comes to like roto grinders, dude, they are so like DFS centric, just about every sport. And their projections usually are pretty good. Oh, he's only 4.65% on
Yeah.
on roto grinders owned. That's very, very low owned. Where do you see the ownership? How far do I need to go to find that?
On Rick Rungood?
Yeah, I need to
It's
get
it's
off of the model, right?
yeah, you would have to go to player profiles and look at them individually. And like when you go to player profiles in the top left corner, it'll pull them all up.
Okay, so I can probably do that in a minute here. So it'll take me a second to get there, but
But go there now. I got my Taylor Pendrith page loaded up finally.
oh, there you go. Yeah, talk to us about Pendrith.
Okay, so Pendrith got the win at the Byron Nelson in May, and he's been pretty good since. He's only missed one cut, and that was ever since then, and that was at the PGA Championship. He low-key came T16 at the U.S. Open. And he's coming off back-to-back top 5 finishes, T5 at the Barracuda, 5th place at the 3M Open. He's been ball striking the shit out of it. 8 strokes ball striking at the 3M, 6.3 at the Barracuda, Joey. Those are 2 of his top 4 best ball striking numbers. 2 of his top 8 ball striking numbers of his entire career he's posted in the last 2 weeks. The problem, while he is like known as a good putter, Bermuda is his worst surface, but he's been on a nice streak, like putting really ever since he's flipped it. I mean, he's gained over 3 strokes putting in each of his last 4 starts. So he's been on a nice little stretch here.
Yeah, I mean, Pendrith is always somebody like between him and I feel like McNeely, like those guys I'm usually looking at.
McNeely has his brother on the bag for the first time this week, I saw.
Really?
Yeah, he
What was
parted ways with his old caddy and now has his brother Scout on the bag this week.
well, that's kind of cool.
What a name, Scout and Maverick McNeely.
Oh, his first name is Scout. Okay.
Scout McNeely on the bag this week.
Nice. Oh, by the way, too, very close in percentage. Like it's 4.61 to 4.65. So
For
they are
Pendrith and Davis?
no for Davis.
Oh,
Just,
okay.
between the two sites. So
Okay.
they were just very, very close in odds there. But
I was thinking of almost doing the same thing with Cam Davis with Taylor Pendrith. He's 100 to 1 in the each way market. So I'd get top 6, 20 to 1 for him.
Who do you feel more confident in this week?
Pendrith.
Is that because of the burn last week? You just like the way that he lines up better.
I think he's just trending. He's very he's almost like Max Grazerman without, even though he's won, like it feels like he's like kind of, I don't know. He's playing better. How I'm comparing it is like how Taylor Pendrith has been playing recently is like how Max Grazerman was playing before these second places, like high end finishes, but not really anything like too notable. Like Grazerman was T23 at the U.S. Open. Pendrith was T16. No one was really talking about either of them, even though those are like really solid finishes for guys of their nature. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Pendrith also finished T10 at the Wells Fargo. Like that's a signature event.
I guess that would explain why the odds, though, are more so like he's got a lower number.
Yeah.
And two, to back up your point, as far as ownership goes, like Taylor Pendrith is 2% higher owned, and he's $300 more expensive. So if he's like 2%, and that's on both sides, they are really close now. Rick Rungood must be doing really good with the percentages now too. They're almost like lockstep agreement here for both of these guys, but 2% higher owned, and he's $300 more. So that just gives you an idea of like what the betting market or smart, sharp players, they do feel the same way that you do, Jack. Like Pendrith they feel better about him this week. So maybe that's if you're picking between the two, then I don't know if you are doing that, but maybe that is where you do your, each way bet.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but I feel like I now got to get some way on these guys.
You want to look at some matchups real quick before I know we're running pretty long, but like just a couple of them.
Yeah, you can go through them real quick.
Okay, so
Oh, I also I do have this one wild bet. I apologize, but go through the matchups real quick.
no, I got to hear the wild bet now. You can't tease it like that.
I had an extra 75 cents in my account yesterday, and I was
The
going through
leftover
this. I was
change.
going through the straight forecast. It is Morikawa to finish first and Ludwig to finish second. 315 to 1.
What?
Yeah, Morikawa first, Ludwig second. Straight forecast. Put 315 to 1.
Yeah, I'd put $1 on it.
Yeah, I put 75 cents to win 240.
Yeah, worth it.
Yeah, I think that sounded good.
I like that. All right, so guys we talked about this week. I think that's where a good place to kind of start when we're looking at the matchups. Xander is plus 140 versus Scheffler, who's minus 175. Are the odds good enough to take that shot or no?
On Xander or
Xander versus Scheffler.
no?
No? All right.
Xander has lost strokes ball striking 4 of the 6 times he's played here. Like there's something weird about this place that he doesn't like.
You don't like him here.
I do expect him to play better, but I don't have any reason to believe he's a better bet than Scotty on this course.
Yeah. Let's see here. Who else are we looking at? So top looks like Eckroat against Cam Davis, minus 110 to minus 115. We didn't talk about Eckroat, but
He can't putt. Let me look at Eckroat's numbers here real quick. Cam Davis versus Eckroat. What were the lines on that?
it's pretty much just you're laying minus 110 either way. Minus 115 for Cam Davis. It's close. You're not getting any plus money, but
yeah, I don't know. Actually, pulling it up with Eckroat, he's been putting better.
Oh, okay, then maybe
which is weird. He's gained 4 strokes putting each of his last 2 starts.
Maybe stay away from that. Oh, here's 2 guys that you like this week. One in particular, Billy Ho minus 125 versus JT plus 105.
Oh, that's tough. I was hoping it was gonna be like Aaron Rye's bitch ass.
We'll get to him in a second. I gotta find him.
I would have faded Aaron Rye against Billy Ho so hard.
But you know what though? That's one of my props. I'm betting Aaron Rye to finish top 10 this week.
It's probably a fine bet. I'm not going to bet him to win. I'm not going to bet him to win again. I just saw what it took for him to win the Wyndham.
No, he's not going to win this week, but I could see him having a top 20 or top 10 easy.
For sure. Plays consistent.
Let's see if I can find Rye in a matchup. Oh, there he is. He's Aaron Rye minus 110, Billy Ho minus 110.
Yeah, give me Billy Ho.
I don't
know if I'm actually going to bet that, but that's like a matchup I definitely like. Just because I'm going to have different props and different avenues this week. I'm going to have a lot of money out there.
Here's one that I do like, especially the guy that we don't think he's in a very good spot right now. Aaron Rye minus 105 versus Victor Hovland minus 120. I think I like Rye.
I like Rye as well.
Yeah, that would probably be my angle. And Victor. Let's see. Tom Kim. Ooh, they got Kim versus M.
That's got to be minus 115 a pop for the fellas, eh?
No.
What?
Surprisingly, guess who is plus money?
They're literally the Spider-Man meme, except fucking Tom's 4 years younger. It's got to be favored to Sungjae.
Favored to Sungjae is minus 125. Tom Kim is plus 105.
They're literally the same people.
If you are somebody who's looking at like advantageous, just a sliver, maybe you bet Tom Kim like a small wager on that if you're doing that, but it's kind of too close to call, honestly.
I mean, I wouldn't argue betting Tom Kim as the dog there, but like they're probably both gonna be in the same boat.
All right, Corey Connors minus 110 versus Russell Henley, and we'll only do like 2 more of these.
I'm really worried, Russ. So Russ Henley is the most popular bet this week, according to Golf Tips Checker.
Are you fucking shitting me?
I'm really worried he's going to let people down.
He's the most popular bet this week? How did I not know this? I did not even realize this when
scares me.
All right, hold on a second.
Hey, what I will say, though, is Aaron Rye was literally number 1 on Golf Tips Checker last week, and he won. So, like,
That's that's a
It
good
can still
point.
come through. It can still come through. I'm just a little
He's not
wary.
that high owned though.
Russ?
No, he's just
It's,
over
it's probably because of
11%.
who he's comped with, bro. He's probably like bundled up with good players. I
Like
think that's
salary wise.
yeah, that's what I'd guess.
Well, he's right in line with Corey Connors, he's barely higher owned than Corey Connors. 9,100. Hideki's a little higher owned than him, and he's 9,300.
People are all over Hideki this week. That's why I'm out. Chalky Hideki's a sketch fest. Hideki.
Fuck that.
I've learned.
Even though I really like Hideki for this spot. Keegan, your boy, Keegan Bradley versus Bobby Mack.
Oh,
You want to guess the odds there? Kind of like the game of guessing the odds.
it's gotta be Bobby Mack as the favorite.
Nope.
It should be Bobby Mack as the favorite. That's a fucking
Plus
joke.
105.
What has Keegan done? What has Keegan done? He's my boy. What has Keegan done?
I don't know. I was kind of surprised to see him here.
You got named captain.
I was kind of surprised to see him here. I have no idea where he's standing.
So okay. So one thing that helped Keegan out is he played in the signature events. He didn't really like play very well in many of them, but he played in the signature events where points are bonus. That's how we got to this spot. But this goes to show how sad it is that Davis Riley couldn't make the FedEx Cup playoffs with a win this year.
Yeah.
Keegan Bradley literally had 2 top 10s this year. Granted, they were both T2 finishes. They were the only top 10s he had this year. He still made it to Memphis.
It's sad.
Yeah.
I mean, there were some guys that would just miss the cut, though. Like, I don't have it pulled up in front of me, but I was like, oh, how did he miss the cut? You know, I mean, that's Davis Riley for you right there. And he's 72. But like some of these other guys, too, like Keith Mitchell. Like, I thought for the most part he had a decent season. Like, he wasn't killing it by any means. Got 0 wins.
Keith?
Yeah.
Oh.
Of course. But
guy stinks at putting.
That's my soft spot for Keith Mitchell. That's the one time I'll reference him and snuck him into the show.
You always find a way.
Yeah, man. That's about all I got though for the matchups. You got any other like props or anything like that?
Well, I might get in the first round leader market too. I was thinking Davis Thompson. I was thinking Tom Kim, first round leader. Maybe Justin Thomas or Shane Lowry, because it feels like those guys love putting together good first rounds and then doing nothing with it.
Just ball fart the rest of the time.
I was also thinking Pendrith, Davis. I prefer Pendrith as a first round leader as opposed to Davis. But I'm thinking about getting both of those guys in the each way market. I don't know. I'm probably going to post something on X with the props I make tomorrow, because I do want to get some ways on some of these guys. And I feel like there are ways for the guys that I mentioned to win us money this week. I just can't bet them in the outright market.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, this is one of those weeks you got to take advantage while you can when there's 70 guys and it's just dwindling from here. Like,
you want to also hear something crazy, bro? This also might have to be hammered. 70-man field, as you just referenced, Scotty, Xander, Rory, all to finish top 20. Top 20.
That's it?
It's plus money.
I don't know if I can do it with Xander this week, though. Like, dude, I could see him finishing 35th, though. Like, you know what I mean? Just over, like, 30th. Like,
the reason why I say no is because we're giving Xander, Scotty, and Rory a guaranteed 4 rounds. Like,
that's true.
They're gonna go low in one of them. They always do.
They'll finish at that -8 to -10.
Dude, Xander, he hasn't finished outside of the top 15 since mid-April.
Yeah, forget what I said. That's actually a really good bet if you're parlaying this.
I just feel like that at plus money. I think it's plus 105 for Scotty, Rory, Xander to finish in the top 20 with these jamokes.
I mean, if you're talking that way too, like what were we literally betting Scotty to do a top 10 or top 5? Like, what's his? It's horrible odds for any of those two.
Scotty alone to bet a top 10, I think, is -780 this week.
Top 5 is -120 for Scotty, and then Xander is plus 175. Top 5, top 10. Scotty's -280. Xander's -125. But just to go further. The top 20 individually, minus 750, and then minus 340 for Xander, and then minus 250 for Rory. So yeah, that literally gives you plus 105 odds.
Yeah.
That's solid. I would probably, you know what though? Like me being me, I would switch Xander for Colin and get that plus 127. That's what I would do. Hideki doesn't have his caddy or coach this week. Yeah, good point, Jay. That's exactly what Jack was saying. Like that's what you were saying earlier about how. Thank you for the comment. We appreciate that. Like,
also wanted to give a shout out to Daniel for the happy Wednesday. Hey everyone, appreciate that, Daniel. Happy Wednesday to you as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's going to be a happy Monday after we win this on Sunday.
I'm hoping so, brother. One and done.
Yeah, one and done. Who you got? How where are we at so far right now?
All right. So,
little update.
I am up. So you had Sungjae last week, who was sitting pretty until he played like dog shit on Sunday. And then I had Denny, who was sitting ugly and then played great on Sunday. So I low-key somehow won last week, even though Denny made the cut on the number. So now, what is that total? So that's 52. I'm up 260 points. So you're gonna need a big FedEx Cup playoffs for you to take down this one and done.
Low key, that's another reason why I picked freaking Russell Henley over Sungjae this week, because he let me down last week.
He did let you down big time.
But yeah, I know I'm gonna need a strong push here. Do I feel good about it? No, because this is your time to shine usually every year. So
but you threw me a little bit of a bone in the Tour Championship last year. It didn't end up working out in terms of me coming back, but I feel like I'll probably do the same for you this year, especially because we have stakes on the line this year. I feel like it's only the right thing for me to do since you did it for me last year. So there is still life for you, Joey. Playoffs are worth double points. And like I said, I'll probably throw you a little bit of a bone to give you life in the Tour Championship as well. Playoffs are worth double. So this is the time for you to take advantage. I went first. I took Billy Horschel.
Okay.
And you can run through. I have the list in front of me. I could let you know who you have and haven't used.
Yeah, I mean, the most confident I am in somebody this, like, I mean, I guess I have to start at the top because we're kind of getting to that point here. I'm not going to start specifically. I've used Scotty. I know that.
You have used Scotty.
I don't even want to use Xander this week. I think have I used him?
You have not used Xander, I believe. I believe neither of us have used Xander, funny enough.
That's wild to me. What about Rory? I think I have definitely used Rory.
Yeah, you used Rory at the Arnold Palmer Invitational in March where he finished T21.
Yeah. Not terrible.
You have not used Xander.
Do I want to do it here though?
Yeah, that's the tough part.
No, I don't want to do it here. I'm going to hold off on that one still.
But what I will say too is I'm likely going to be ahead, and I'll spoil it for you. I'm probably going to use Xander at Eastlake at the Tour Championship. So that means you either have to use Xander if you want to use him. Now you don't have to use him.
I would feel better about him next week though.
I probably would too.
Than here.
I probably would too, honestly. And I'm not going to use him next week. I'm pretty sure I'm saving him for Eastlake.
Okay, so all right. Well, appreciate you kind of giving me a heads up there. So I will not use Xander then this week. Trying to think. I know I've used Fleetwood. I'm pretty sure I've used
I don't know if you've used Fleetwood.
No. Did I use them in the fall?
You've used Morikawa. Let me see here. You haven't used Fleetwood. I don't think. No, you haven't used Fleetwood. You've used Morikawa. You've used Henley. You've used Scotty. You've used Rory. You haven't used Cantlay, I don't think. You've used Thigala. You've used Wyndham. You've used Lowry. You've used Burns. You've used JT.
And I've used Kim.
You've used Sungjae. You've used Finau. You haven't used Cantlay.
So I have Cantlay basically available, or
Finau is available,
or Fleetwood probably. It would be Cantlay or Fleetwood for me, is what I would roll with this week.
Make sure you're not leaving anyone out. I don't think you've used Ludwig. You have not used Ludwig.
That's impossible, isn't it?
No, I don't believe you've used Ludwig.
Well, shit, man. Well, who do I think? So if I have, okay, let's think about this for a second. I have Xander, I have Ludwig. If I want to use Xander next week, I have Ludwig, Tommy Fleetwood, and Cantlay.
I don't think you also have Tom Kim available as well,
which is probably my favorite out of that entire group for this week. But if I'm thinking in a high floor terms, I'm thinking probably Fleetwood or Cantlay.
That's a little bit of a pickle you got yourself here.
Yeah, this is a tough one. I'm glad we're kind of talking through it though. Shit, man. I'm gonna stick with my guns here because of the fact that I do not, and I've been doing it a lot recently, I do not like picking guys who I'm not betting on. So let's roll the dice.
Tommy Fleetwood.
Fuck that. Never Tommy. Yeah, Tommy, the other Tommy. Let's go with Tommy Kim. Yep. Let's do it. I'm surprised I haven't used him though. I thought I would have used him like out in Vegas or something.
You actually, I mean, I know there are a lot of random tournaments. I'm sure I'm guilty of it too. Yeah, there are some good players that we just didn't use this year.
We always, but see, that's how we think. Like at least that's how I do. Is I want to save this person. I don't want to use them here. I don't want to use them here. So let me try to find someone I'm really confident in that's like a little bit more under the radar. And even if they don't win it, they get like high floor. But you've been destroying me this year in the one and done. So my strategy apparently is not working. So it's time to maybe rethink this and just start shooting for some bigger guns a little earlier.
Yeah, that might have to be the strategy next year. I don't know how neither of us used Xander considering the year that he's had. He's been good literally everywhere, and we just felt he wasn't going to be good anywhere, I guess.
Well, especially if we think about it, dude, like once we get to the playoffs, there's going to be good names where we're still like feeling good about, and it's a smaller field. So it's like, how much does it really matter once we get to the playoffs anyways?
Yeah, exactly.
So, but anyways, yeah, man, good show. Let's get another dub. You're getting one here. We're at least now though we can kind of feel better about where we're positioned from last year, like our outright total. Like our outright total is starting to creep up there. Where are we at? 8 or 9 or something like that?
Yeah, we're at 8 this year. We're at 8. So starting to creep back up there. And so I think we had 13 total last year, but that included the fall. That included the fall before, I want to say.
Well, so, we were.
So that's because
we included the fall this year, didn't we? We started counting in the fall, I think.
Right, but no, I don't think we did, because this fall is part of the 2024 campaign. And also, I don't know if we even had any winners in the fall. I don't think we did.
My fall
I'm pretty sure that was from the year prior. So because they've went back to a calendar season, now we're in the 2024 fall. Last year was 2023 fall, even though we counted it for our one and done this year. That was the one mistake we made. I think that's why it's got you a little tripped up.
Maybe, yeah.
Because we counted one and done in the fall last year as part of this year, which will probably make the fall one and done like the start of next year, just because it makes more sense to do it that way.
Mm-hmm. I like it better after the championship. Like it to me, it makes more sense to just reset at that point.
Yeah, exactly. I think the same way. Fall's interesting. Fall's always interesting. Some funny lines you get in the fall. Like
those are some of my like favorite shows though too.
Oh, I know. There's so many jabronis.
So many freaking weirdos.
I know. It's amazing, dude. And like I'm sure you probably bet like Aaron Riot like 18-1 at the RSM Classic like 2 years ago. You know what I mean? Like just a bunch of jabronis at numbers that they should never be at.
Stupid shit.
It's fun. Looking forward to the fall with you, brother. But any final thoughts before we tune off here? It's been a long one, but I think a good one.
Former FedEx delivery guy says FedEx Cup playoffs start tomorrow, and we are due for another dub, so let's get it.
I would just love nothing more Then Colin Morikawa to win. We both cashed the outright. I know Ross is on Morikawa this week as well. Me and Ross had a visitor. Make sure to go check out Scratch Golf for anyone tuning in. You can find him at the Scratch Golf Show on YouTube, at Scratch Golf Show on X. He's also on Colin Morikawa this week. So it would just be like the greatest squad ride of all time. And I think it would be very rightful for Mr. Colin Morikawa for the season he's had, man.
That's a true, like I said it earlier, squad ride. That's a true squad ride if Ross is on him and your guest is also on him.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be amazing. Let's get it for that.
I'd love to see. We need it. Would love to see Mr. Morikawa get it done. Would love to see both of our heaters, yours here at the end of the 2024 campaign and mine personally at TPC Southwind, continue this week, my friend. To everyone who tuned in along with us. Go ahead, Joey. Final thought?
One more final thought. So I was able to confirm I did have Lucas Glover last year. I don't know if I said that or not. 90-1 ticket. And now I can, it's starting to flash back, kind of like that Tommy Fleetwood stupid fall one and done pick that I had. It's starting to flash back. I do remember texting you during the term, like, holy shit, dude, he is sweating so bad in all the wrong places.
Yeah.
And yeah, we were both on him last year too. So all right. We got something going here. That's 2 years in a row. We're going for a three-peat.
Squad ride three-peat. I don't know if you're going to bet Sam Burns, but it sounds like our only chance to do that 3 years in a row squad ride would be with Mr. Colin Morikawa. We'll see if you end up on Sammy Burns, but sure seems like Colin Morikawa might be that guy. I've been talking too much for the last hour, 45 minutes, Joey. I'm going to sign us out of here. Again, to everyone who tuned in, though, thank you very much for all the support. Again, a reminder to go follow us on X at OnTap Golf. Really, really does mean a lot. You can find me at Jack Bushman too. Go and give Joey a follow at Joey Knows Nothing. You can also find Golf on Tap for free wherever you listen to your podcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever that may be. But thank you again to everyone who tuned in. Best of luck this week in the first leg of the FedEx Cup Playoffs. Until next week, the BMW Championship in Colorado, 81,000 yards, the longest course in PGA Tour history. Will be fun to break it down. We'll be back. Until then, everyone, have a good rest of your night. Crack